Funga is now part of the flora and fauna. Funga, as it should be. It had never before been seen as crucial, influential, or substantial enough to be talked about. It had been looked over, like nobody understood its work, like nobody thought it deserved praise. It had been doing everything everyone needed so perfectly, so neatly, that nobody ever noticed it. Sometimes I think that's what happened to you. You saw the world so softly, so kindly, that no one ever noticed you. They just floated in the indescribable bliss you created, unaware of the hands that held their pool, the hands that quiver and shook. And they saw the wake. They just never understood your pain. To terror the habits you make. But Funga's seen now. I only wish you were able to see the underdog win. I feel alone, but I know I'm not. Because you're connecting me to everything.
Hello. Hi. My name is Jackson Bernard Poulain, and welcome back to Alphabet Superset. This is a project inspired by Campbell Walker, and it is a project where I write 26 monologues in 26 weeks in anticipation to write a new play. Thank you so much for joining us. This was F for Funga. So as you see, we have no sheets in my bed. This week I'm washing my sheets, and we're going to do actor first this week. So if you look at the monologue, you're going to notice it's kind of more actor first. There's less props, there's less film stuff. It's literally just me in front of a wall, and that's on purpose. I'm trying to get back to the acting. Let's talk a little bit about the word. Funga. Why funga? Funga was put on the list in the first place because it was recently added to the flora and fauna conversation. For a long time, we were talking about ecology and the community of like organisms in the forest. We were talking about flora and fauna, and now there's a huge conversation of including funga, and it recently got added by the UN Council of like Biodiversity. So it's a big deal. That's been added to the conversation. It was an anti-insect repellent. It was helpful in medication. It was helpful in understanding engineering from like a biology perspective. And now that it's being included, all of those things are being recognized more fully. Funga is just more part of the conversation moving forward for biodiversity, which is wonderful. So I wanted to take funga, right? Its idea of like it being a connecting force in biology and how it's like 60% of the ground and how it connects all the trees and that's how they communicate. I wanted to use that level of connection that funga has and have Miles use it as a game to explore how disconnected he feels to his dead sister. How he feels like no one talks about her in the same way that no one talked about Funga for so long, and how like he wishes people would see how important she was to everyone's life and how she was the social glue that connected so many people. 3 good things about the writing. 1, I like the explosive release about Miles' sister about halfway through the monologue. It just cuts to him. I think that's kind of like you. That's one of the lines. It's very representative of how people think. They'll be talking about something to distract themselves from really what they're talking about. And the game was him talking about fungi. And then I think that's really about you. 2, I touched on it a little bit. Funga is a great game to just, play around with how connected he feels to his sister. 3, I feel like the monologue was written in a language that Miles would only use by himself or with his sister. It felt very personalized. It felt like this was written from one specific character to another specific character. One bad thing about the writing, I feel like I could have condensed the poetry in some areas. There's one where I said, the hands that quivered and shook, they saw your wake, but they never understood your pain. I just felt like that could have been condensed a little bit more when I was reading it and I was acting, and I felt like it was a little chunky. 3 good things about the acting. 1, I think as an actor, I really used the funga metaphor really well. It was like, while I was talking about funga, I was thinking about how it related to my sister the whole time. It put like a color on the words, and then once I finally said, it's kind of like you, I think it made people realize in that monologue, oh, that whole earlier part, he was talking about his sister. 2, whenever I do a monologue to a point, I feel like a lot of times, even when I talk here, I kind of look off and I'm looking down and look around. When I was doing the monologue, it felt like I was very focused on the point, and even though I was having a lot of emotions and I was trying to figure stuff out, I was really much staying in the point, and I wasn't drifting too much. And when I did, it was very pointed, and I just felt like it really allowed me to release. It really allowed me to show like a range and and a sensitiveness of this character to the camera. 3, not only did I use the game of Funga, but I feel like in my acting, I used the game of sharing information, not to feel emotion. It felt very much like, I can't deal with this emotional moment. I'm going to spend time talking to you about Funga, which I feel like I do in my personal life, and I feel like this character does in his personal life. One bad thing about the acting, and I think this is kind of like symptomatic of the way that that I recorded it, was that we did it in front of a wall, and it just felt like the physicality was off. I think in previous monologues, my physicality has been much better. I think the second monologue I did, Be for Border Waters, that one was a much better physicality, just because I allowed myself to be comfortable in front of the camera. That comes after you create the game and the mental challenge and the mental objective in the scene, and then you add the physicality. And I think that kind of leads into my goal for the next monologue, is to have all the stuff that we had in this monologue, the games, the specific person I'm talking to, the specific language, and then add that level of physicality. Because if I can do all of that, then I've written a good piece, I've acted a good piece. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming back. This was F for Funga. Next week is G for Gas Giant. I hope you join us. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you enjoyed this process. If you have any thoughts, any opinions, please do comment them down below. Thank you so much again for watching, and have a wonderful week. Let's make bad art.